Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France, of course, you good old boys from Canada. But Big C, there's no one we love more than you good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on a beautiful June the 7th, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys?
Charlton, it's going a little better for us down here than it is going up north, up in Cleveland. I mean, at least we're relaxed and comfortable. Everybody's tense and on nerves, up in Cleveland right now. I mean, they thought they had a chance last night. All of a sudden, before the game was over, they had left the arena.
Yeah, how do you spend so much money and then you up and leave an arena? So much happening in the world of the sports universe, talking about, some things that have been happening around the world of sports, and we have horse racing coming up over the weekend. People are getting hyped about that. Have a title fight coming up in Las Vegas, along with the NHL quest for Lord Stanley's Cup. I hear they've been trying to drill for more vibranium. They can't find that, but they got to put something in that cup. We know the NBA is fantastic. Baseball's still swinging them back. And then good old track and field's running up north in Oregon. There's a lot of good things happening in the sports universe. But Big C, I want to start up asking you, what's at the top of your mind in the sports universe?
Charles, at the top of my mind today in the sports universe is that this story at the White House will never just stop. Colin Kaepernick and his legal representatives are seeking a federal subpoena on the president and the vice president about their actions with the NFL owners. And so this thing with the Eagles not going to the White House just resonates every day, Charlton, to show the injustice that has been done in American society, and also with our political leaders attacking athletes, Charlton.
Wow.
And that shouldn't be that way. People in our industry all the time say, well, sports and politics don't miss. I'm just here to talk about the scores. So why, if that's the case, why is it so paramount that with all of what's going on in America, all the people that need help and assistance, and around the world, the devastation that's been going on with the volcanoes and earthquakes in Hawaii and Venezuela, Charlton.
Yeah.
And, the president is talking about having a summit with Kim Jong-un of North Korea about nuclear, denuclearization.
Yeah.
But he is more nuclear on black athletes than he is anything else in society, Charlton. He thinks that right now, if he pardons a few people and commute a few sentences,
I saw that
he'll gain American favor.
Yeah. But,
there are so many people, Charlton, that if you're going to start doing that as a slippery slope, who do you start letting out of prison? We know that many minorities are in prison because of unjust law.
Yeah.
But that's social injustice also, Charlton. You just can't touch one tip of it saying that you're remedying social injustice when we can sit up and watch police officers beat a man unconscious for leaning up against the wall talking on a cell phone.
Yeah, and I know, and I love what we do on Big C Sports. I've talked to so many educators in my lifetime. There are times when I was just a knucklehead too. I used to always talk about, man, did you see the game last night? Did you see who won the score? But my grandparents and my parents wouldn't let me just go that far. And I think as we talk about Big C Sports, and hopefully there will be a climate change where people, especially young black boys, one of the things that I've always been proud of is the diversity of people that helped me growing up, black and white. But when I hear sometimes young black boys being approached by saying, hey, do you play football? Hey, do you play basketball? Not do you study math and science? Do you study the Constitution? Do you understand who the House of Representatives and Congress and the senators and the president? And those things exist too. But if you become that person, you say, yeah, well, let's get excited about some athlete, then you let people, what they call, typecast you. And it happens in Hollywood. They let people play certain roles. So, but give me your thoughts on this thing with Trump again, because Colin Kaepernick is not a dumb guy. And I think players not going to the White House has a lot more to do with other things that are coming against Trump and Pence. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about his representative seeking a federal subpoena, that means he'll be in front of a federal judge. But the thing about what Trump has said, it is his own words that is his worst enemy. You know, that is one of the reasons why his attorneys did not want him in front of Robert Mueller.
Yeah.
He is a very unarticulate individual. When you listen to him speak, and, you know, we all beat up the former last President Bush when he was in the White House because of things that he would say and when he would pronounce it at times.
Bring him back.
But he was a breath of fresh air.
Yep.
Listening to the individual we have right now.
Yeah, bring him back.
Even his people who back him are on Fox will tell you that he's unarticulate and scary. You do not want him in front of a legal person, you know, burying himself, because that's what he'll do. He will go off script in a heartbeat. You can write anything down that you want him to say.
Yeah.
But I think he's like me. He's dyslexic, and he has a hard time reading.
Yep. Yep.
So, you know, if you write something down, he's going to look at it in the opposite form.
Yeah.
But, you know, as far as him injecting on all of these athletic issues, Charlton, you think about it. We have never had a president at any time think that he should be voicing what athletes should do. When we sit up and we see the plants that are closing in America, we can always talk about the job rate being high.
Yes.
But I keep trying to figure out, as we get more and more businesses that are closing up in America, how are all these job rates dropping, Charlton? So somebody's not being honest about that. When we have huge national companies like Ford said they're no longer going to produce cars in America anymore, only 2 models.
Yeah.
They're going to farm them out to another country. So how did the job rate increase? Toys R Us closed 235, 40 stores, Charlton. All those thousands of people out of work.
Yeah.
How did the job rate increase? When we saw Sears, we saw Macy's closing the doors on many of those facilities, Charlton.
Yeah.
How did the job rate increase? Harley-Davidson closing its 2 major U.S. plants. So these are the things he doesn't talk about. But he wants to sit up and tell athletes how they should be acting. He had this pseudo ceremony at the White House this past weekend where the Philadelphia Eagles declined.
Yes.
Because they are players of integrity on that team. And they took to heart what he said because it was inappropriate, Charlton.
Yeah.
And not only that, you know, the same day we see this release of this police video from Mesa, Arizona, of the actions of police against a minority citizen.
Yeah, that's horrible,
beating
man.
him unconscious, just standing up against the wall, talking on a cell phone. They said they charged him with disorderly conduct.
You know, yeah.
So you getting beat up just standing there, not defending yourself, that's disorderly conduct.
It reminds me.
They wanted the reason the shooting, Charles.
It reminds me of what happened with Rodney King, and obviously when the tapes came out, people said that. I do want to say this segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. You know, we stand up for women all the time, and if there's one message for young women, I keep giving this thought that because I was read to so much as a kid, that all life came out of the womb of a woman. All life. Except for Trump. We know he's test tube baby. I mean, it's some things just don't make sense. But when Giuliani, and this is for women, because sometimes women can be told that they're catty against others, they tear each other down. But I heard a man, Giuliani, I think he was out of the country.
He's in Israel.
In Israel, and he was slamming another woman for the chosen profession that she's in, which the last I checked is not illegal to have that industry in the United States of America.
Well, I'd like to see his video catalog, Charles.
Well, I'm sure how did he know what she does if he didn't know what line of work she was in? I'm sure he's seen a couple of her performances. But
Charlton, just to inject on that for a moment.
Yeah.
Here's Rudy Giuliani being hypocritical. Okay, Rudy Giuliani, when he was mayor of New York, since he's this pseudo-saint, okay?
Yep.
Was living with his mistress. Living with his mistress while he was married and being mayor of New York.
Maybe he was
He
dyslexic.
announced to his wife over a news broadcast that he was divorcing her.
Yeah.
Okay? You talk about a classless individual and lack character and empathy for women. You're married. You're the mayor of New York. So you've been sleeping around with other women. While you're married, you're supposed to be this paragon of virtue. You're the mayor of New York, being empathetic for all your people.
Yep.
Yet you're cheating on your wife. You're sleeping with another woman. So that woman that you were sleeping with, I think you would classify her in the same category that you would classify Stormy Daniels, a woman sleeping with a married man. So what was her credibility? And then, he wanted to say that the president's wives was all of high character. And we know the first one was an import off of Craigslist.
Yeah.
His second wife, he got involved with while he was married to his first wife, Marla Maples. He was having an affair with her.
Yep.
While he was married to his first wife, that charged him with rape during the divorce proceedings.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, his third wife, Melania, that he's married to now, he got involved with her while he was married with Tamara Maples. Okay? And he had the affair with Stormy Daniels and this other Karen McDougal, Playboy bunny.
Yeah.
That he's paid between the two of them over $250,000 to these two women. Okay? Through his attorney, Michael Cohen.
Yeah.
Now, who lacks integrity? The guy who continuously sleeping around with women while he's married, that's Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani. And I guess they both just lay there now. I don't think they can do anything. So,
yeah.
But, here it is. He's going to mock the integrity of a woman that Donald Trump was willingly taking pictures with.
Yeah.
That he was willingly being seen in public and shelling out $130,000 to.
Yeah.
I mean, any woman that you're paying $130,000 for 4 minutes has some pretty good integrity, Charlton, because her standards are real high.
Well, I want to say that a lot of God's favorite children and men and leaders that he gave power to had wives and concubines, whether it's Solomon, and you can go into Noah. Everybody does what they do. In the real world, we know that. But I want to get back to this Me Too movement because I think there's a direct correlation with Black Lives Matter. And I just wonder, when the NFL owners that stand, NFL can stand for Never Fight Ladies. That could be, I heard that from a good friend of mine by the name of Rashid Salam. So unlike the mothership, I'm giving credit to where I learned it from. And he's a big advocate and activist in the Bay Area and in central part of Missouri. But when they come out and they supported Trump on saying fire those SOBs because they came up with some laws saying we're going to fine you if you don't listen to Trump. But where's the Me Too movement when Giuliani is assassinating the character of a woman just because she chooses to do that industry, which is supported, if you Google it, by many mainstream American companies. Google it. Google who supports the pornographic industry. Okay? These are mainly mainstream corporations. And if you Google it, you can't be dumb to it. So why are women silent when he lambasts another woman for being in a legal profession and they say nothing? But some of those same women were saying, yeah, Colin Kaepernick, he should get the heck out of the country. He's not standing for the flag. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I don't know the last time Rudy Giuliani stood for the flag. He was a guy who was not liked in New York when he was the mayor of New York.
Stop and frisk.
9/11 saved his butt. Unfortunately, the loss of many thousands of American lives made Rudy Giuliani relevant.
Yeah.
Because no one cared about him in New York. They were trying to get rid of him. He was a poor prosecutor. He's 75 years old. He hasn't practiced law, Charlton, in 20 years.
No, he
knows
hasn't.
nothing about the law any longer.
Nope.
He knows how to run his mouth. And, we thought the president was unarticulate.
Yeah.
And Rudy Giuliani makes him seem like a genius every time he opens his mouth.
They should drug test him
He's
or
over
something.
in Israel, and he's speaking about foreign policy, and he's supposed to be the Russian lawyer for the president.
Yeah.
The White House lawyer.
Yeah.
He's over in Israel talking policies about North Korea, saying that the North Korea leader was on his hands and knees begging Donald Trump to meet with him.
Isn't that
Now, if you
stupid?
want to tick off the leader of a foreign country, Charlton, you have someone lambasting him and undermining him like that on a public spectacle.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what Rudy Giuliani is doing. He's making a mockery of leaders of the world going out speaking as being a voice for the president. But we get this all the time, Charlton. We get distraction from the White House. Every time we get one of the buffoons opening their mouths, there's something major going on elsewhere.
But don't they
trying to cover up.
But Big C, do you think they get a pass because number one, they're mainstream Caucasian guy, and number one, I've yet to find. I know a lot of women, and a lot of women in business, and broadcast, and real estate, and insurance, and again, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But I've yet to find one that said that they wanted to be with someone that looks like Rudy Giuliani. Now, don't hate me for saying it. I'm just telling you what women have said. So for these men with money, do you think they're not paying these women, which is what they accuse Daniels for doing to get money, accepting money to get favors? I just, if you can't find women that say they want to date the guy because of how he looks, he doesn't look like, Tyson, the model. He doesn't look like a lot of the good-looking actors. So
like Fabio.
He doesn't look like any of those guys. So does he have to give up money to these women that they are running around with because their wives don't want them? I mean, I just want to ask that question. Why don't they come under the fire for calling that to women? Could you imagine if Colin Kaepernick got on TV and assaulted a white lady, blonde hair, blue-eyed, like they do to Daniels? Why do they get a pass, Big C? I'm talking from mainstream, your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, you get any minority athlete go out and use blasphemy on a female. Look at the outcry from the public specter to him. He's going to be lambasted. He's going to lose his employment and everything else, Charlton. It has become status quo for white males to blast women. Look at Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
His lies. Look at the president. I mean, the number one office in the land lied and denigrated women.
All the time.
And all of a sudden now he's paying them off. But they're all lying. It's hard to believe that a woman is lying on you and you're willing to give her $130,000 so she won't talk.
100, yeah.
And you think about if he paid her the $130,000, look at the dozen of women that were there during the campaign making these same allegations.
Yeah.
Look how quick they went away. I guarantee you, Charlton, they all got paid and had these non-disclosure agreements.
Yes.
Just like Stormy Daniels did. And that's what Michael Cohen was trying to hide when his office was raided by the FBI.
Yes.
They have all these non-disclosure agreements that the president has passed out to these women.
I think about girls all the time because my mother's a girl. She's a woman, but at a little time she was a girl. And I look at how my grandparents defended her and taught her how to have self-respect and belief in herself. But we know, again, I grew up around the church, which got me a lot of guilt about things, felt really guilty about even enjoying some things that nature made you enjoy. But I just wonder, because I have an affinity for protecting women, protecting girls. And I'm a parent to a girl. So I know what some men are like because I've been around it. But not all guys fit that profile of a predator. But I just wonder again why I haven't heard any women outside of a couple on CNN, and I respect that program because they have the right and the left side, or Republican, Democratic side, etc. But outside of that, you don't hear our mainstream media blasting these old white guys for calling every woman, they used to burn women, called that they were witches, right? We've heard about all that stuff. And it's the little things, like a small spark becomes a fire, which becomes a forest fire, because we don't put it out, especially when it comes out of the mouth of a white guy, like Trump or Giuliani. So again, I want to ask Gloria Allred, when you say the biggest success in your life was getting a conviction from a predominantly white jury against Bill Cosby for whatever he was accused of that Trump has also been accused of, and you don't go after him or even cause the media stink, and you have a lot of young women that could be safer if we got rid of these men who are rapaciously raping and hurting women. And the way it's easy to hurt somebody is you dehumanize them first. And for having Rudy Giuliani to dehumanize another woman and have women who are intelligent sit back and say nothing, how in the world do we do it? Is it just up to us, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you speak of Gloria Allred. You got to look at the networks who have had so many males that have been fired for inappropriate sexual misconduct or actions, Charlton. She would have to hold a press conference with them there. They're not going to show up. So she can't grandstand. So she's not interested. She's not interested in going after NBC with Matt Lauer. She wasn't interested in going after Fox News with Bill O'Reilly or Roger Ailes. She hasn't been interested in going after CBS with Charlie Rose when he worked there, Charlton.
Wow.
So you think about that. Who you attack. You're not going to attack the people who will get you the publicity, Charlton. So it does her no good to go after these people. She's not interested in it. And then if you look at it from a political perspective, Charlton, she didn't go after Rudy Giuliani.
No.
She didn't go after the president. The women that the president had
disappeared,
charging him and accusing him, she didn't go to represent any of those women, Charlton. She was more worried about her self-survival, Charlton, than she was helping these women defend themselves.
I just think that's a shame. I think it's a shame when a man can say that he's the president's lawyer. It's the same old garbage that we've seen for years, and I'm glad they're doing something about it. I want to just finish up this one thought on Colin Kaepernick, who I have, sometime in California we have what's called wine. They haven't infused it with vibranium yet. Imagine when the good old boys in Napa Valley find the vibranium, and you can get your vibranium on that wine label, and just imagine how good it's going to sell. It's going to be the #1 seller in the universe when they get vibranium infused into the wine. But Colin Kaepernick from wine country grew up in Turlock, Central California, played up at the University of Nevada under Chris Ault, Hall of Fame coach, and then playing for the 49ers under the great Jim Harbaugh. And now we see he's an intelligent man. And one thing I'll bring up, especially for black men, because I grew up around a lot of wealthy, or why say knowledgeable black men. Some were businessmen, some were just, regular 9-to-5 workers, but they were intelligent. And I've yet to meet the ones that only talked about the game. That's why I have such anathema when I know sometimes people say, it's a sports show. But is that all you want the world to know that you are? If you're just an ignorant person, I understand. It's just who won the game, Joe. Hey, Bill, I think this guy won the game. Who's the MVP, Joe? But we have such intellect in the black community. But if a woman can answer this question, I want to get your thoughts too, Big C. Have you ever gone on a date with a man and all he ever talked about was sports? That's what mainstream sports talk is. And it's embarrassing that that's all you got to add to the universe. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, if that's all you have to add to the universe, then you're at a loss for life. You have to have an understanding what makes everything exist, even sports. Sports exist through politics because politics are the funding for sports.
Yep.
Believe it or not, it is. They built the arenas for these teams to play in these cities off of taxpayer dollars. Politicians have won campaigns saying, I'm going to make this team stay, I'm going to get this arena built.
Yep.
I've seen it, Charlton. Even in the area down here where I am, I've seen stadiums be built, Charlton, by politicians to keep a team in an area.
Yeah.
And so we see that out there where you are, where the Golden State Warriors are leaving Oakland to go to San Francisco because the politicians built a new arena. You got it there in Sacramento.
Yeah.
The politicians built a new arena in Sacramento. So it's all about politicians buying into it. Now, Charlton, there has to be some kickback somewhere. They're not doing it all out of the generosity of their heart.
Oh, they're not doing it because they're nice?
Yeah, they want to get paid just like the contractors do. So somebody's cutting a deal to help somebody.
Yeah.
But, when I look at these athletes, and we keep going to Colin Kaepernick, if the NFL had wanted to remedy the problem with Colin Kaepernick, they could have did it. But it shows you how stupid the NFL is. A team could have signed Colin Kaepernick. Yep. They could have released Colin Kaepernick. They had the right to do that, Charlton, saying that he didn't cut the bill. But they knew they would have been lying doing that also. But, Charlton, they could have solved the problem.
Yes.
But none of them had the balls to do that. But now you're looking at this situation where it is. How many teams drafted a quarterback in the top 10 last year, Charlton? 4. 4 teams drafted a quarterback in the top 10 last year, Charlton.
Yeah.
You had a quarterback that had gone to the Super Bowl, and he still was not better than one of those quarterbacks that was drafted in the top 10, mentality-wise, in the NFL by the pseudo-white owners in the league, Charlton.
Yes.
Now, you think about how long did it take Colin Kaepernick in his career to get to a Super Bowl? I believe he got there in his 4th year, Charlton.
Yeah.
In the league, his 4th year in the league. Now, you had 4 quarterbacks drafted in the top 10. Over the next 4 years, Charlton, none of those quarterbacks will make it to the Super Bowl. Probably not even the playoffs, Charlton. Who fails the fans, Charlton?
Yeah.
The owners are failing the fans because of their egos, because they don't want to justify the social injustice in America. They're saying, can't you guys just be happy that we're paying you guys and you guys are not getting shot because you don't have to live in those neighborhoods where the African-American kids are being killed by law enforcement or being beat up in the hallway by law enforcement?
I want to inject.
You don't have to live in that.
I want to inject
but
real
you should
quick.
be quiet.
I want to inject this real quick, Big C. I might be wrong on the numbers, give or take 5 or 10. But since Kaepernick took his stands, there's been over 250 shootings of African Americans by people that had a badge in the United States of America.
259.
259. I knew I was close. If that were white kids, do you think we'd be having a national conference on how can we solve this problem? If you have blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids being shot by law enforcement in their own grandparents' backyard for doing nothing other than talking on their cell phone or texting or what's it called, face chat, Snapchat, whatever that chat stuff is the kids do, then think about that. And when it's brought up, you're told, fire the SOBs. Now, that's why when I look at my black brethren on TV and radio, and they don't know this, or if they know it, they're so afraid of the guy who has Caucasian skin that may do something about it if he thought it mattered to them. But some people are such sycophants, they don't even know that stat that Big C Sports just brought up. And if they know it, why don't they talk about it? You might hear them start talking about it in the next week. But why don't they know there's been 259 police shootings of African Americans since Kaepernick was trying to bring attention to this injustice? But can you tell me who won the game last night? See, was it Cleveland or Golden State? That's more important than some kid getting shot by law enforcement. Do you know who won the WNBA game last night? How about the NHL contest? Is that all more important than 259 kids that are no longer alive by someone who's sworn to protect and serve? And why is that controversial for a sponsor, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, it's amazing that when loss of life is less value than your endorsement. That's the amazing part of America. Now, everybody that listens to these programs may not have had somebody that was affected by the loss of life through a violent act like that, Charlton. But, what resonates so much in my mind is the one I just saw on television in Mesa, Arizona. They saying, don't jump to conclusion about what you saw. We have to investigate this.
Yep.
And I'm trying to understand, what are you investigating? You have the police audio from their body cam, so you have that. The man was not threatening. He was not cursing at the officers. Matter of fact, he wasn't even talking. Never even exchanged dialogue with them. He did what they said, lean up against the wall. He did. And he just was leaning against the wall, relaxed. That wasn't enough. What did you want him to do? He wasn't armed. Did you want him to lay down, face down on the sidewalk? Is that what you needed? They said you can't jump to conclusion until they finish their investigation. Because what you saw on video, the entire incident occurred, was not actually what occurred.
It's not what you
saw. There was more to it than that.
Yeah.
You saw it from start to finish on video, but you can't believe that.
Well, the
police would not have done that to him if it wasn't warranted.
I want to ask you this thought, Big C, because you're down south where, Jim Crow is just a different form of Jim Crow. It's more like tacitly conceding to injustice, and Dr. King talked about that. When we know of bad things happening, if we do nothing about it, then we're complicit. I want to say out here in California, oftentimes people say go to the black pastor can solve injustice in communities. Let's ask the pastor to pray for people as opposed to voting against people. Let's ask the pastor to put his hands on the community leaders and say, God, can we please have peace in our communities as opposed to what the white people do. They go down and they march your butt to get out of office, or they sign petitions to get you removed, like the judge that gave the white guy 3 months in jail for raping a drunk white woman at Stanford University. They didn't pray. Notice that the white community did not get together and ask the clergy to pray.
It's called a petition.
Exactly.
To have him recalled.
So we gotta, as a black community, because no other sports show going to tell you this. They're going to tell you who won the game because it's a distraction. Even some of the people, they want you to say, this is my hero. They don't feed you. There's no nutrients in there, what they're saying. I don't want to be like that. So I want my black brethren to hear this one more time. When the white kid raped the white girl who was drunk down at Stanford, no one asked the white community to get together and pray for forgiveness. No one said that. They said, let's sign a petition and get that judge removed from office. And that is what people of color got to start doing. You want the names of people who are murdering kids, are roughing people up. And I'm not speaking about the 50s. I'm saying what happened to me. So I'm not talking about what I read. And I want people to say, you got a voice. The only way we can stop it is to bring attention to it. That's why we shout down domestic abuse. We all have mothers and daughters and women in our lives. We can't leave it up to the women to do it. Sometimes they don't have the courage or whatever they don't have it. Or if they have it, they're not doing it. But I want to do it because I want the next young person that finds yourself marginalized. We'll tell you the score too, but I want you to know how to get yourself out of that situation. Big C, that make any sense?
It is, Charlton, and law enforcement is a very honorable profession, Charlton.
It is, a lot of them.
It's the toughest job in America. Well, it's the second toughest job in America, Charlton, next to an active duty in the field military personnel.
Yeah.
Okay, because every day your life is put on the line. But even within the military, Charlton, there are some bad actors.
Oh, we know that.
In law enforcement, there are some bad actors. And, you know, if you can have Starbucks have sensitivity training, why can't our law enforcement go through sensitivity training?
Amen.
I know when I was growing up, Charlton, majority, and I grew up in a small town, majority of those individuals who became law enforcement, Charlton, were the people who were picked on in school. And I mean, bullying goes back to even when I was young, when I had hair on my head.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Bullying goes way back.
Yeah.
And we saw those individuals that were bullied by others in school end up becoming law enforcement officers, Charlton. And they made it tough on those other individuals when they became adults and they became law enforcement.
Yeah.
They became abusive of the power that they gained, Charlton.
Yeah.
Their egos made them go back and made the people that abused them, bullied them, pay for their actions years later once they became adults.
Yeah.
They would pull them over, give them tickets because they could, Charlton. They would harass them. They would stop. I saw these things, and I had guys tell me about this when I would go back to that town and visit.
Happened to me.
Be careful of so-and-so.
Yeah.
You know, this is what he is now. And, you know, he's after everybody who bullied him. And so we see this, is that so many law enforcement officers, because of the stress of the job, Chuck, you know, they always say you got to have background checks before people buy guns, Chuck.
Yes.
Law enforcement every 6 months should have to go through decompression counseling.
I think it would help.
They should, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because when you've had a stressful day at work or a week, who are you going to go lay it on? Your wife? How is she going to know how to remedy that, Charlton? Your significant other? How is she or he going to remedy that, Charlton?
Yes.
You can't do that. These officers should need to go under counseling, decompression, Charlton, every 6 months.
I think it would help.
Because of the stress of the job. I mean, they don't all want to be put in a predicament. But as a witness to the incident in Mesa, Arizona, the minute one officer reacts, other officers react.
Yes.
Because they feel that their buddy, their compadre is reacting for a reason. They don't know. They just react. They're just seeing what they're seeing by the one officer, so let me follow. The incident that we had in Sacramento when that young man was shot in his grandparents' backyard.
Yeah.
One officer fires, he said he has a gun. The other officer didn't say it. One officer said that.
Yeah.
So he reacted to the actions of another officer. He may have been a great officer, Charlton, but he reacted to what he was told. Not what he saw, not what he felt. He reacted to what his partner told him.
Yeah.
Then they had another individual say, turn off the microphone. We have to get our story right.
Yeah.
And I don't know which one said that. They still haven't released the investigation, but they said we need to turn off the microphone.
And
So
yeah.
a lot of officers are put in that situation, Charlton, because of a bad officer.
That's
that
very
bad
true.
officer reacts, and that good officer becomes part of the melee.
And that's very true. I remember growing up and around school and watching speeches by Dr. King and being able to hear some of the speeches by Dr. Cornel West, Dr. Harry Edwards, studying some Farrakhan. I know Farrakhan, mainstream hates Farrakhan, but his message to African Americans is about responsibility, self-reliance. It's a Republican message, but it's also anti-brutality, anti-police brutality, so they hate him for that. But his message has never been about beat the hell out of them and we'll pay your legal bills. Donald Trump said that on his campaign. Think about the two messages that both men have sent. One is egalitarian, but they don't like it because he's black. The other's Caucasian. They say, well, he's going to help me, save some money or make some money. But I got to just hit on this point before we get into some sports. Because I work around, again, I tell you, I'm around the AAU, a lot of kids, diversity, all over California, kids that want to go to college playing basketball. And when I hear them ask, do these guys know what's going on in Oakland? When they come to the Coliseum and set up on Lake Merritt, and they have people in their sports show, and they're talking about how good some athlete is and how he can dribble a basketball, how many dribbles he has in a playoff game. And that community, like many other communities in the United States, if they had people that would address some of the concerns going on, like criminal justice reform, like Kaepernick, we could change it. But some of these little black and white kids, they think that maybe these mainstream stations, they don't even know what's going on, Big C. They don't even know 259 African Americans shot by law enforcement because they never talk about it. And that's anathema to your own people. So even when they go home, their own kids can't ask them, have you guys said anything outside of who won the game that'll keep American kids safe? Because those fellas, if they had a little bit of faith, like the size of the grain of a mustard seed, go to that producer and say, these things are happening. We'd like to see if we can solve it, not calling somebody down to pray, but get people in office that can get the bad apples out. Big C, I don't want to be the only one doing that, Big C. Does that make any sense at all, your thoughts?
Charlton, if we had uniformity from sports broadcasters about the social injustice, not to say that players are protesting, if they spoke of it as what it is, social injustice going on in America, stop telling me the damn lie that players are protesting.
Amen.
Because they are not. You don't see them walking around with posters and banners, marching up and down the street. That's a protest, Charlton. They're not blocking the entrance of a stadium. That's a protest, Charlton. They're standing or kneeling in peace, Charlton.
Yes.
Being respectful. They are not protesting. And until we get all of the broadcasters across this great country of ours to stop lying, that is the number one problem with America. We have the media, mainstream media, that will not call the president a lie. They'll say he said falsehood, mistruth, speaking out of context, not being exact. Just tell them a damn lie.
Yeah.
Straight up. Okay? And we got all our sports broadcasters lying also. Lying on the NFL players saying that they're protesting. They are not protesting. And especially you black broadcasters, you African-American broadcasters, you're the most appalling of all, saying that it's a protest. And yet they're fighting the same battle that you're fighting.
For your kids.
Except you won't acknowledge them. You won't help them. You will tell them, wow, look at how he played in the game. But you won't sit there not once and say the injustices that are done to people in your community. Yes, you most likely moved out of the community that you grew up in. Because of your economics, now you've been able to move to a better neighborhood. But those that you know that still live in those neighborhoods live under that peril all the time.
Yeah.
And you won't discuss it. You won't say anything about it. None of these broadcasters have said what Colin Kaepernick has stood for is accurate. There is social injustice in America, and it needs to be addressed by the league. Don't force players to stand and turn your eye and say, well, it doesn't affect me. Because if I'm an owner and I fly to the practice facility, Charlton, in my helicopter, that means wherever I took off from that helicopter at, I had a helipad.
Yep.
Whether it was at my office complex or whether it was at my home. I have a helipad at 3 places. At my practice facility, Charlton, at my office complex, and at my home.
Yeah.
I never even have to get on a freeway. So I don't even have to encounter law enforcement, Charlton, unless I want to.
Yes.
That's the only reason I have to encounter them. They're not pulling me over, flying at 5,000 feet up for speeding in my helicopter. They're not doing that.
Nope.
They're not flying it, pulling me over because I got a certain decal on my helicopter, Charlton. I don't have to deal with that. And even when I get to work at the stadium, I have escorts to take me in. Not like Mike Brown, the assistant head coach of the Golden State Warriors last year, Charlton, when he arrives at the Oracle Arena, and the police deny him entrance because he's a black man driving a luxury car, trying to come through a secured area, even though he was licensed by the team and the NBA to do so.
Well, I tell you what, Big C, I just want to say I'm proud of people who bring these issues up, because sometimes, I guess I got to be honest, I don't know some things until you tell me or until I Google it, but I'm a voracious reader. So a lot doesn't slip right by me, but when it does, I don't want to keep it silent. I know there's little kids that might listen to what we say or anybody else on the airwaves. And I hope that we can at least get some equal time to some real talk. Not just, hey man, do you see how many points this guy scored? We owe the next generation of young kids, black and white, but especially African Americans, we owe them more than that. When society comes at them and say, hey, you're 6'2", 200 pounds, do you play football? Do you play basketball? They don't ask, are you in math or science? Or do you study literature? Are you going to go to medical school? Are you going to be a lawyer? They already pigeonhole your kids. And then those kids see their fathers on TV saying, man, this guy's going to be the MVP of the league. He scores 30 points a game. Did you see that jump shot he hit? Oh, my God, I've never seen a shot like that in my life. And they got to feel embarrassed for their father, because that's the stereotype that we've heard about black men. And then you see them all on the TV, bringing in guys that haven't played in 10 years, and they're doing the same thing. I just think it's crazy. I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry. And boys and girls sports is the foundation of this billion-dollar industry. And for every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, or a high school team, even your mom and pop soccer leagues, reach out to them and let them know Big C sent you. 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. Big C down in the Silver State, them good old boys tonight. I know they're looking for Lord Stanley's Cup, and whether the Knights win or lose, that cup is down there, Big C. And I know they're trying to find some Vibranium to put in it, Big C. But will they go back to Washington, or do you think it's going to be over and done tonight, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, as many times as I've been to Vegas, I've never heard the phrase last call. Okay?
Yeah.
But I think the Las Vegas Golden Knights may get that call tonight, Charlton. Last call for alcohol.
Yeah.
The alcohol will be pouring in Lord Stanley Cup tonight, Charlton. It just won't be the Las Vegas Golden Knights sipping it. This is the time for the Washington Capitals, Charlton, to make their etch into Lord Stanley Cup history, Charlton, having their names carved into the cup. Yeah. You know, they've played a wonderful series, Charlton. They're the more physical of the two teams, and it really showed in the last two games, Charlton, where Vegas could not just stand up to the pounding that Washington was putting their physical will on them. Yeah. And, it's been a great magical run in Las Vegas. Yeah. To have gotten to this point, Charlton, you think about the number of teams in the NHL over the past several decades that have toiled and not even gotten close to Stanley Cup. Yeah. But in your inaugural season, Charlton, you had an opportunity to sip from the Holy Grail. And the Golden Knights have played themselves proud this year, Charlton. Their fans have been exorbitant all throughout the season and the playoffs, Charlton. Yeah. But just the better team right now in the Washington Capitals are playing, led by Ovechkin and Oshie. These guys really, Charlton, are going after with all vigor tonight in Las Vegas.
Well, I hope that we can go back to Washington. I just think the NHL is exciting, but it just can't compete with the NBA. It's almost like anything else in the world. the NBA really, I know they say football's king, but I think NBA is king. NBA, you can actually sit up close with the players. The fans can sit there on the front row seats, and you're about 3 feet away from Steph Curry or LeBron James dribbling down the sideline or Durant, and you don't have that even in hockey. You're behind that glass, but it's still a great game. And no matter win or lose, Las Vegas, they've had a great success. And I think more people down in the desert will galvanize themselves around that sporting event that we know as the NHL hockey, and I really appreciate how great they played this year. Big C, I want to stay in Vegas. I know you talk about you never heard last call down in Vegas, and another thing you never heard, if you heard of the fight coming up, and I know you do, welterweight title, Terrence Crawford, he's 32-0, 23 knockouts, fighting from the land down under, them good old boys back in the day. Jeff Horn, 19-0 with 12 knockouts, and that's Saturday night in Las Vegas. It's the fight capital of the universe, Las Vegas is. So no matter what happens with hockey, and no matter what happens with the fight, Vegas is still the center of the sports universe, with the exception of basketball. Give me your thoughts. Horn, they robbed him. I mean, Pacquiao got robbed. He got robbed in broad daylight in front of 50,000 down in Australia. I don't think he's going to get away with robbery against Crawford. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, there's a lot of lights going on in Vegas, Charlton. And, Vegas has always been the mecca for boxing. I mean, MMA has come on the past several years and it's been electrifying.
Yes.
But Vegas is always, when there's a big fight, is where Vegas happens, Charlton. You come into town, people that are boxing fans regardless of the sport that's going on. And when you think about it, this fight's going to be on Saturday night, Charlton. There may not be any basketball come Saturday. There may not be any hockey come Saturday. So it could be the only thing competing against it is Major League Baseball.
Yes.
And when there's so many baseball games being played, Charlton, you can take some time out and watch a prize fight. But to have two great combatants like this, Charlton, being undefeated, fighting for a unanimous title, Charlton.
Yeah.
This is what boxing needs to do.
Yeah.
You need to have more events like this, Charlton, where you have undefeated fighters.
Yeah.
With Horn coming in, who has won a title that we've seen on the national stage, fighting Pacquiao.
It's a robbery.
And so,
it's a robbery.
He still has a lot to prove.
Yeah.
He fought at home, Charlton. He had some home cooking. Now in Vegas, what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Sometimes.
All we've seen in Vegas lately is Mayweather.
Yeah.
And so we need to see something else. We've seen a little Canelo and Alvarez.
Yes.
But that last fight was put off, Charlton, due to some tainted meat or some steroid abuse. Something had to do with the needle injection. We don't know which one it was, whether it was the meat or whether it was the man that had the needle. They had to call off the fight.
When the guy goes to the weigh-in and he got a needle in his shoulder, he's like, "Oh, I didn't put that needle there, Big C."
That was a flu shot.
Yeah.
It flew right by. But, this is great for boxing, Charlton. To get, boxing back into that mainstream attention, Charlton, you have to have quality fights.
Yeah.
You just can't bring any and everybody on. And to have undefeated champions, Charlton, going at each other, this is what Vegas and the boxing world needs, Charlton.
Well, not only does boxing need it, they need Teddy out there, his son, and that great commentator. I think he's the best in the universe. Atlas, yeah, the best in the universe. And there's something about him when he speaks with passion. I like men who have passion. There's the brother by the name of Aaron Hall. He sang so many beautiful songs, but one's called "Missing You," and he hits this note where he says, "I miss you," and he sings it from his gut. And I miss those days of having the Mike Tyson Holyfield build-up, Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hitman Hearn, Marvin Hagler, and Sugar Ray. We know Roberto Duran, when he fought Sugar Ray Leonard, the No Mas fight, that second fight was not as good as that first fight when he beat Leonard. And I didn't want to see Leonard lose. He was my Olympic champion, and he was an ambassador for boxing. Boxing's missing that. I know he had Floyd Money Mayweather, but he's more of a showman. And I'm not saying he's not the best fighter in the universe, but he doesn't have that thing that Sugar Ray Leonard had. And Crawford hasn't been promoted like Sugar Ray back in the day. So even though this fight has undefeated fighters, do you feel it's like on the back burner for national media, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, it is right now, the build-up to the fight, Charlton, because there's so much going on. You got the Stanley Cup, which could be coming to its conclusion tonight. You got the NBA title that could end on Friday night, Charlton. So there's a lot of media reveille going around those two national events, Charlton.
Yes.
You know, it's been a long time since we've had a heavyweight contender in the U.S. that really draws all the attention.
Yeah.
And so the two heavyweights are the NHL and the NBA right now.
Yeah.
And so when you're competing against those, and you think about the NBA, Charlton, you know, how they talk about black players taking a stance against social injustice.
Yeah.
The NBA players, Charlton, have done that just as long as the NFL players have.
Yes.
But the NBA ratings, Charlton, have gone up each of the last 4 years. Think about this. The ratings have gone up each of the last 4 years. And yet we have very outspoken minority players in the NBA on social injustice.
Yeah.
The ratings this year, Charlton, are higher than the ratings last year for the first 3 games of the NBA title.
Yes.
Now, I know a lot of people will say, well, they're tired of seeing the Warriors and the Cavaliers are playing. But you're only tired of seeing these teams play, Charlton, when they're not in your town. Okay?
Beat them.
You think about that. I can go back over some championships. No one was tired of seeing the Lakers and the Celtics competing against each other for titles, Charlton. Nobody was tired of the Chicago Bulls three-peat.
Yeah.
No one was tired of that. No one was tired of the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe winning 3 titles, Charlton. No one got tired of San Antonio winning 5 under Popovich.
No.
No one was tired of the Miami Heat's run when LeBron James was there, Charlton. People are only tired of seeing something when they're not in your town.
Yeah.
But overall, America is excited about seeing these two titans compete for the last 4 years, Charlton, for the NBA title.
Well, I want to speak of the Titans, and you talk about Denzel movie. Denzel had a movie back in the day that I think it was called Revenge of the Titans. I believe is what it was.
Remember the Titans.
Remember the Titans. I knew you would know it, Big Z. And
Coach Herman Boone was the first integrated coach in West Virginia, Charlton, in high school football in 1971, I believe it was.
And I love that movie that Denzel played. Imagine what I love about Denzel. Before I get on the biggest lions of the NBA universe last night, Big C, in that movie, Denzel didn't just make it seem like, hey, everything's great. I'm a coach. Hey, I got a coaching job. Let's just play ball. He gave life lessons about integrity in that movie that the black broadcaster lacks today. They act like, hey, everything's great. Let's just read you the score. And I know their kids are embarrassed when they bring their father around to the day at this, they have Parents' Day at school, and all their father can talk about is sports. He can't talk about math and science. And if he can, he acts like he can't. So you may as well not even know it if you can't talk about it. That's why I'm saying I grew up around smart men, and they were embarrassed for the guy that only wanted to talk about sports. I remember talking to some female friends back in the day, and they wanted to date this guy, but all the guy talked about was his 40 speed, how fast he ran the 40 Big C, and how much he could bench press. And some of those guys get jobs on network TV. When you talk about Lions are the king of the universe. And I look at what happened last night with Durant and how dominant he is. Not only inside-outside game, he's a conscientious person, grew up in the D.C. area. He's not a sycophant. But give me your thoughts on when the game was on the line and Curry was having some shooting challenges and Thompson wasn't doing it. He became like the king of the jungle last night. In King James' house, he stepped in and said, I am king, like Ali. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I want, before I get in depth on that, I want to go back to this one African-American broadcast analyst that was on a sports show the day after game 1.
Yeah.
Saying that Durant wanted nothing to do with LeBron.
Google it. Yeah.
Google it. It's there. Put it up on YouTube. That Durant wanted nothing to do with LeBron.
Yeah.
I've seen Kevin Durant last night. I mean, people will say players have ice water in their veins.
Yep.
Okay? This was hot ice that he had in his veins.
Vibranium.
That liquid nitrogen type ice that will burn you. This is what when the moonshine is perfect, Charlton, it's just a steady sip. I mean, you just roll it back, and you almost come to like slow motion because it's so good.
Is that what they call being in the zone, Big C, when they say they're in the zone?
and I watched KD last night, Charlton, on a couple of occasions.
Yes.
when he rolled back a little of that moonshine across his tongue, and he raised up from 32 feet out, knocking down a three, Charlton. But his inside-outside game, it was complete last night. When you look at his shooting percentage, Charlton, over the last last two games, and I go back to that point that said, well, he wanted nothing to do with LeBron from this one broadcast in game one. He still scored, Charlton, in the mid-20s. And the thing about the Golden State Warriors, and you look at KD and his cast of characters that he has along with everybody said, well, they got four, all-stars, Hall of Famers. How do you become an all-star? How do you become a Hall of Famer, Charlton? And I can't fill in that. I want all of the listeners to understand what it takes to become that. Because they're all playing in the same league as the players that LeBron James and his teammates are playing in. And everybody's saying, well, it's LeBron James and a host of characters in Cleveland. They're professional players being paid multi-million-dollar contracts every year. It's about what you put into that you want to get out of your profession, Charlton. That's what it comes down to. When you look at Klay Thompson and you look at Steph Curry, and everybody talked about their struggles, their struggles are what the team is about, Charlton. This is a team that they shoot. They don't care if they're making them or not. They're going to keep shooting. Steph Curry can miss 10 shots in a row. He's not going to stop shooting. Klay Thompson did the same thing. He's not going to do it. But when Cleveland, when they have a player miss 3 or 4 shots, J.R. Smith, Kyle Korver, what happens with the media? They criticize them. So they tear them down. So how can a fan look at these players as being quality NFL players when the media that's doing the broadcast is tearing them down? That's an ill-advised shot. Why is he taking that shot? He's not in the rhythm. He hasn't hit. He's missed his last 5. Why is he shooting?
NFL and
They don't
NBA,
say that about Steph Curry.
No.
They don't say that about Klay Thompson. They will shoot themselves out of a slump, Charlton. You never know when you're going to hit that critical shot. It's like Rodney Hood last night. They said, well, Tyronn Lue should have played him earlier. You don't know what the rhythm of any player is going to be in any game. Game 2, everybody was saying, what about Steph Curry? Surefire MVP of the championship. Last night, he was out of the equation, Charlton. So when you look at what players do, the media is the worst enemy of all the players. They love you when you're hot. They question you when you can't hit a shot.
Just like a relationship. They love you when you're hot, and they question you when you can't hit a shot. I think that's so funny when you bring that up. Why are people criticizing Tyronn Lue for being in the NBA Finals? I think this is his 3rd year, even though the team's been there 4 years. Big C, your thoughts?
3rd consecutive year in the NBA Finals, Charlton. And as we said a couple of weeks ago, there's 28 coaches that are not there. Tyronn Lue has been there 3 consecutive years. He's gotten his team together. And you look at this, Charlton might have been his finest job as a head coach this year. Even though he will most likely get fired at the end of this season, Charlton. You think about the team. They didn't have a GM. They threw together a bunch of misfit players at the beginning of the season, Charlton. Trying to make it work. Then all of a sudden they decide to pull a trade midway through the season, Charlton, getting rid of 5 players. Bringing in 3 new players, Charlton. If you look on the bench of the Cleveland Cavaliers, you don't know 5 players sitting on the bench, Charlton. You honestly don't. There are not 5 players on the bench in Cleveland that you can name. And so when you talk about what Tyronn Lue has done with this cast of characters that he's been forced to try to cook a meal with. And you look at any other roster. I mean, when you looked at Boston, you looked at a lot of high draft picks in Boston, a team that they eliminated. You looked at Toronto, a team with some all-stars that they eliminated, Charlton.
Sure did.
You look at Indiana, an up-and-coming team with a young coach and a lot of young all-stars. They eliminated them also. But Tyronn Lue, if you go 7 deep on his bench, on his roster, the next 5 guys, you don't know who they are.
That's a very good point. That's
what lets you know that Tyronn Lue is a quality coach. Even though he's beat down by mass media, Charlton.
Yeah.
LeBron James this team can't win without him.
No.
That's the reason why he's playing so much.
Yep.
And everybody's not understanding that Golden State, they win with whoever's there.
And you know,
but without LeBron James and Tyronn Lue, they have nothing, Charlton.
Nothing to criticize. I mean, in the last few minutes, whether LeBron James leaves or not, will there be another burning of his jersey party in Cleveland for the guy they love to hate? Also, I want to ask you, when we see the dominance of LeBron James as a man, what he does off the court, that's why if the sportscasters could just be like him, what he does off the court, one of the guys you cover and call King James, the chosen one, if we could just chronicle some of what he does more than just 30 seconds, because young kids are listening. And I don't want the next young wave of black kids to grow up ignorant, to be ogling over some erstwhile athlete that can only talk about sports. And they bring him on as a guest for 5 minutes. Tell us about when you played. Can we have anybody say what they're doing to create business in enterprise in corporate America, to create jobs? So young black boys, black and white, just like a lot of white kids grow up, they can see a lot of their parents and grandparents are own business. Even though they may own a sports team, when they sit around the house, they're not just talking about the sports team and how many points some guy scored. They're saying, son, this is what you got to do to get into business. We got to get your corporate credit. We got to get your business profile built up, all those things. Why is it that our black broadcasters only want to feed our kids, hey, guess how many points this guy scored? Big C, I hope we can change that. Will LeBron James be back in Cleveland next year, 50-50? Your thoughts?
Charlton, I believe it's a good 75% chance that he will be in Cleveland next year. When you look around the league, and everybody's talking about creating super teams, wherever Cleveland makes a move, they need a solid GM to make that move, Charlton.
Yes.
Whether it's with LeBron or he goes elsewhere. But if he goes elsewhere, what do you have to do salary structure-wise in that new team that he would go to, Charlton?
A lot.
Most NBA teams are at this salary cap. So you have to dump players or players taking reconstruction of their contract. There is no guarantee if LeBron goes elsewhere, Charlton, that it guarantees a championship. When he went to Miami, it took him 3 years before he won a championship in Miami. He didn't win in his first year. He didn't win in his second year. It took his third year in Miami to win a championship, Charlton.
Yes.
So when you talk about that guarantee that LeBron goes somewhere automatically, you're hoisting the NBA title trophy, Charlton, that's not a fact. He's proven that in his past. Plus, Charlton, he's not as young a player. And if he goes to a team that's established, his egos have changed over the last 5 years in the NBA, Charlton, since he's gone back to Cleveland. Everybody has their own Twitter and social networking account.
Yes.
Everybody is about marketing themselves. LeBron has been the mainstay of the NBA for the last decade.
Yeah.
These young players now want to hold that title, Charlton. They want to be the guy. And they're all doing that every day in their endorsements, in their television interviews, Charlton. Nobody has said, we want LeBron on our team.
Wow.
Even though he will help a lot of teams, we haven't heard that wholesale endorsement. I don't know if it come under the tampering rules or not. But wherever he goes, that team has to restructure. All you have to do is look at what's going on in Cleveland.
Yes.
With the players since LeBron has been there. You had the second best player on the team didn't want to be there any longer.
Yep.
He facilitated a trade. So all you have in Cleveland right now is Kevin Love and LeBron. And it all depends on which concussion protocol Kevin Love is going under that day.
That's true, Big C.
So,
yep.
You know, when you go to, if he goes to another team, Charlton, who is going to be receptacle of having this 16-year veteran come in and say, okay, this is my team now. You guys have been trying to reach the line. I'm going to come in and get you there because you're no good without me.
Well, I tell you what.
That's what you're affecting now, Charlton.
I tell you, and it's always interesting to watch, but I love when athletes show that they're not dumb. And when some of if we could just get someone with this faith of the size of the grain of a mustard seed, maybe we could become more than just the guy that talks about sports, Big C. Back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use How can you lose? Rumble, Young Men in Rumble, Big C. What are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, this is the trifecta that I'm going after today. Today would have been the 60th birthday of the late artist Prince. He passed away a year and a half ago. 40 years ago, Charlton, the Washington Bullets, now the Washington Wizards, won their first and only NBA title 40 years ago today. Tonight, Charlton, will be the first title to return to D.C. other than football, with the Washington Capitals taking home Lord Stanley's Cup tonight in Las Vegas. And Charlton,
yeah,
they don't have to do what the Clippers did last year. They don't have to fly to Vegas. They're already in Vegas.
Well, they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to deal with that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.